There are no items this evening. Appointments and presentations again. Don't be nervous. Come on forward. Mr. Benini, welcome. You know the procedure, your name and where you live, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of Council. My name is Mohammed Benini. I live at 800 Yankee Valley Boulevard, and I own 3 businesses in Airdrie. I shop locally when I can, and I've invested a lot of time and money in Airdrie. I've seen Airdrie double in population, and it's one of the fastest growing cities in Canada. There are many businesses and entrepreneurs operating in Airdrie that I would rank as world leaders compared to other businesses in their industry. Airdrie is lucky to have an amazing sports center like Genesis Place, which was able to host the Alberta Games successfully. To get to my question, I've been working on bringing fight promotion in Airdrie that would host monthly mixed martial arts events for professional fighters from around the world. I would like to host these events at the Genesis Place. However, there's one hurdle in my way. Airdrie does not allow professional mixed martial arts events. Mixed martial arts is currently one of the fastest growing sports, and I believe it has a place in Airdrie. When there's a UFC live event on TV, all the bars in Airdrie playing those fights are busy, and I believe a promotion will attract a lot of money in Airdrie and its businesses, and a one-of-a-kind entertainment for residents. Since the fights will consist of 20 minutes continuous and only one round, which does not operate like that in Calgary. I grew up in Montreal, which currently hosts the best MMA gym, fighters, and coaches from around the world, and I will be planning on attracting high-profile and up-and-coming athletes to compete in Airdrie. Can Council direct staff to work on a way to bring such a promotion to Airdrie?
Thanks, Mr. Benini. And I too went per pay-per-view, and I got my 14-second knockout from McGregor last weekend. So yeah, I'm certainly a fan of the events. I know we had a challenge with the local event hosting it here. I believe this. I don't know if it was this council or the previous council that saw this come before us. I think it was the previous one. So I would certainly like to see a motion come forward from us to look into establishing either commission here in the community so that we could host these events. The other thing is, we know we host judo tournaments and other things that are combative sports, so I always have a challenge understanding what the difference is because it happens in clubs. And I know Councillor Hunter is an avid, is it Kung Fu fighting that you do? Taekwondo, anyway. Councillor Chapman, please.
Your Worship, I'd be happy to make that motion that we direct staff to come back to us with what is required for I think it is a combative, what's the word I'm looking at, combative
sports commission.
I'd make that motion, Your Worship.
Excellent. Any other comments? All those in favor? All those opposed? One opposed. The motion's carried. Councillor, got to get used to that. It's our first time using councillor, so I'm confused this evening. Councillor Hunter was opposed. The motion's carried. Thank you, Mr. Benini.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Bring it forward. Anybody else who'd like to come forward and ask any question? Surprised with some of the development community out there. No questions? Really? Come on, you guys. Okay. I will close public question period. Oh, I'm sorry. Please come forward. Oh, hi, Larry. You need to hit your microphone, please. No problem.
Okay. My name is Larry Antoniak, and I live in Kings Heights. And I guess I'm confused on secondary suites. We paid a lot of money for a property in Kings Heights, and unfortunately we have 2 secondary suites, one on each side of us. And I'm not sure if there are any rules in the city about that, and how many of those suites can be on my block before. Doesn't seem as anybody knows. One of them is a mother-in-law suite. Apparently those are allowed. If you put together an affidavit, you can have a mother-in-law suite, which is nice. Except when mother goes, who moves in next? And how do you control that? Next door to me on the other side is a gentleman who runs a business in town and has put a secondary suite into his home illegally. He had 2 females in it over the summer, and they recently moved out, and a family of 4 have moved in there. The problem I have is both of these properties, one of them has 5 vehicles, none of which go in the garage. The one beside it, there are 4 vehicles, none of them go in the garage, because when you rent out your basement, you have no space for storage. So where does all your storage go? Into your garage. Council has to, if you're going to allow these things, you're going to have to make some rules that, you know, these people have to have additional parking. I mean, we only have 38-foot wide lots in Kings Heights, and a 3/4 ton truck parked in front of a house basically takes the parking for 2 homes. So I'm not sure why, but I have complained about the one illegal suite beside me twice and been told that there's no problem because they don't have a stove, which is wrong. 2 young ladies, and when they moved out, now there's a family of 4, and it's not right. My property will be devalued if you continue to allow these people to move into these properties. And how many of them can be on the block? Are there any rules? Somebody's got to have some answers on this stuff, because obviously with economic conditions the way they are, they need to be some rules in place. Do you tax them additionally? They have additional garbage and twice the maintenance. They should be taxed. So my question, you know, I'm frustrated with the lack of support that I got from bylaw, and after complaining a number of times, it didn't seem like anybody wanted to listen to me. The response from bylaw is, well, how does that affect you? Well, it affects me when I want to sell my property, because anybody going by my house, it looks like a used car lot. It's not right.
So obviously, and we've had a conversation. It's okay if I call you Larry. So I haven't been able to talk to our planning guru who's sitting back there, Tracy. She's been away on vacation, but obviously you've had some conversation with Rhonda. I know that, Rhonda Day, and I don't disagree with you. You covered a lot of stuff in your conversation. Mm-hmm. So I think just to really get started, we need to get clarity on this, and unfortunately it's one of those ever-evolving things. And, you know, we take people's word at value. So whether the person lied or not, we have to, you know, there's only limited amounts of resources where we're going to say, well, you're a liar, so we're not going to accept that. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of complicated challenges. I know we're looking at secondary suites in greater detail. I don't know the time frame that's coming into play. If anybody knows, Tracy or Lauren, if you have a timing on that. I know this is not the first. You're not the first resident that's come forward with this challenge, and I'm not negating it in any way. I have neighbors, and you know I totally understand. We had our neighbor had a suite, and we know she rented it. We know who the kids were that were in there. It didn't really impact our lives, so I really didn't. It didn't bother us to say anything. But sorry, Tracy, I'll stop talking, and whenever you're ready, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. We brought the land use bylaw forward to MPC very recently and had some provisions in there possibly for secondary suites. As mentioned in the last report that I delivered to council, we would be doing more public engagement on it because there's the bylaw, bringing it forward that way wasn't quite sufficient. We need to get a little more input from the community and on the kind of things that people would be concerned about. We did talk about the proliferation, how many, how could go in a neighborhood, so we're looking at that. Parking, of course, will be the biggest issue. So I think what we'll be looking at is a parking requirement, and perhaps it's a minimum lot width, because that's where we usually run into more problems. We would expect to have the engagement process occurring through January and February, and probably report to council by March. We won't hold up the bylaw on this. If it needs to be parked, that section can be. Okay.
Thank you, Tracy. So, Larry, would you be interested in providing your input?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
so if you could capture his, I'll send you his email and contact information. But in the interim, I just ask for your patience, and we are working through it, and hopefully we'll have some certainty and some answers as to how this is going to roll out in the very near future.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for coming in. There being none, we will move on to item number 8.1. In this process, this will be set up like a public hearing, so we'll open up the public session after staff have made the presentation, and then we'll hear from those in favor, we'll hear from those who are opposed, and we'll hear any questions from council, and then we'll be closing that public hearing. So as far as bylaw B58 2015, I'm not sure who's going to be coming forward to make that presentation. Is this Bob Neal? Yes, is Lauren as well? Sorry, it doesn't say on my sheet, so. Okay, whenever you're ready, please. Tim, are you going to be making introductions, or Bob, are you going to be introducing everyone? Lauren will be introducing everyone. Okay, thank you, Lauren.
Your Worship and members of Council, I just wanted to firstly make some introductions. Sitting at the presenters table to your far right is Richard Galetta with BSEI. In the middle of the presenters table is Kyle Eastham, also with BSEI, and we have Tim Olson with our engineering services area on your far left. Also here, Bob Neal, and simply because we only come before council every about 2 or 3 years to deal with the topic of off-site levies, I thought I would just provide some context and introductory comments for context here. So a couple of things. One is just to remind council, an off-site levy, it's one of the several financing sources that's grounded in legislation that municipalities use to pay for infrastructure costs associated with growth. The levy charges that you see before you here tonight, certainly our aspiration is to transparently show the costs of growth and to equitably allocate that offsite infrastructure to the areas that benefit, and under this greater principle, it's growth paying for growth. One way to think of the offsite levies is that it is, I always describe this as approximately about a 10-year rolling infrastructure program for growth-related needs. It's flexible enough, and we undertake regular reviews about on an every 2 to 3 year cycle, depending on growth. And really with that rolling infrastructure plan, if you will, there are some self-balancing mechanisms in that if growth happens sooner than what's projected, again, funds are collected quicker, infrastructure gets constructed quicker. The reverse is also true in that if growth occurs at a slower rate than originally forecast, levies come in slower, and ultimately there's less infrastructure required in that same time horizon. Council does retain ultimate authority for any growth-related infrastructure improvements, and those occur through the annual capital budgeting cycle. Over time, we have attempted to use a consistent philosophy and methodology with respect to the levies, and we believe that this enhances predictability for the development industry and certainly reduces or minimizes significant cost escalations if there was a new philosophy employed. One of the methodologies, however, that is proposed in this year's levy update, and you'll see it not only touched on in the BSEI presentation, but also following this is the utility bylaw presentation. And what is proposed in our levy structure this year is the elimination of the Calgary water wastewater levy that was previously adopted, and this is what will replace that is an individual connection fee on a per property or per utility connection basis. Certainly, staff believe that this proposed amendment more accurately captures the costs directly attributable to a specific development as it comes on stream and uses a proportionate share of Calgary's water and wastewater treatment facilities for which these are intended to fund. The good news is overall there is a reduction in development charges based on this utility rate model, and we believe that's a more appropriate means in addressing Calgary water, wastewater. This certainly links into the city, both the City of Calgary and City of Airdrie entering into a long-term master servicing agreement and utilizing a new utility rate model for that. I would add that, and there'll be more detail provided here, the intention was to provide this information to Council in the October and November timeframe. It wasn't our intention to be on your doorstep necessarily a few days before Christmas. But in terms of our consultations with the industry, there was a desire for some additional discussion and dialogue, and we believe that that was value added. There always is a saw point between the city trying to undertake and implement off-site levies and the industry, I think, trying to also ensure that there's lots of time for good consultation. So we are landing on your doorstep tonight with the results of that information. We're pleased to say we had a very good response from the industry and participating with the city, and this indicated UDI's support for the process and what's before you here tonight. We had received, again, a good level of response and some good feedback from the industry, and some of that resulted in both not only industry forums but also love in terms of identifying growth-related infrastructure is that at the end of the day, there is a certain amount of growth-related infrastructure necessary to service a growing community. We make our best assumptions on that. In terms of when it's required and what's required and so forth. If something does not get, it is truly growth-related infrastructure and it is not funded by the off-site levies, then the alternative is that the city will possibly through its rate base have to fund those accompanied pieces of infrastructure. So I think with that, I'll turn this over to Tim Olson just to describe a little more of the process, and BSEI can provide some of the technical review and analysis. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. Your Worship, members of Council, what I'll do is I'll go through a brief background on the project. Then I'll turn it over to BSEI for the technical presentation component of it, and following that I'll present the alternatives and recommendations to Council for consideration. BSEI was retained earlier in the year to complete the offsite levy report update. The project started in earnest in April, and the large task of data collection and compilation took place over the next few months. During the project, staff worked collaboratively with the development industry, and to ensure that it was inclusive, an inclusive process. We held 2 forums after the summer months, one in September and one in October. After much discussion and correspondence with the development industry, there was a general acceptance as to the process and outcomes of the levy review by the industry. With that, we'd propose that the updated off-site levy rates take effect in January 1st of 2016. So with that, I'll turn it over to Richard from BSEI for the technical component.
Thank you, Tim. Your Worship, members of Council, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present this information to you with respect to the off-site levy update. As Tim mentioned, it has been a very collaborative and transparent process with administration. And the purpose of the update, the City of Airdrie has initiated the process to update the current off-site levy bylaw. And the guiding principles that we incorporated with this, we are building great communities as a common objective of the City of Airdrie and members of the development industry. Guiding principles which will provide direction throughout the off-site levy bylaw process are: off-site levies are among the tools that help contribute to great communities in which residents can live, work, and play. The City of Airdrie will ensure open communication and respect for all perspectives throughout the off-site levy update process. During the process, we took several items into consideration to prepare this report. Those included guiding legislation, certainty, policy alignment, financial sustainability, benefit allocations, fairness and equity, clarity and transparency, accountability, collaboration, efficiency, key deliverables, and future growth areas. So I'll just briefly give a bit of a description of each of those. Under the guiding legislation, it is to understand the current legislation and risks associated with offsite levies, charges, and fees. We seek opportunities to manage or mitigate the risks and identify opportunities for agreed upon legislative changes, whether by city charter or amendments to the Municipal Government Act or both. Certainty, the offsite levy bylaw should contribute to overall growth management and infrastructure processes that provide cash flow, cost, and infrastructure certainty. The funds collected should be used as intended. Policy alignment, we promote achievement of goals within the city plan, transportation plan, and the City of Airdrie planning and financial policies. Financial stability, we create an offsite levy bylaw that contributes to a sustainable financial framework for growth-related infrastructure that is in the best interest of the current and future citizens of Airdrie. Benefit allocation, cost of offsite infrastructure should be borne by those who benefit. The benefit allocation should be determined using a defined methodology that appropriately allocates infrastructure costs to growth, existing resident, and or regional customers. Fairness and equity. For each project, we look after your unique challenges with a dedicated project team. Fairness and equity will be primary considerations when determining benefit allocation and costs, which should be distributed equitably, including consideration for existing and future development. Clarity and transparency, methodologies and calculations used to determine the amount of the offsite levy will be clear and transparent. Accountability, information supporting the offsite levies will be disclosed, including annual reporting on the collection and allocation of levies. Collaboration, opportunities for collaboration with a diverse set of stakeholders will be provided during the process and in the future. Efficiencies strive to create an offsite levy bylaw that can be easily administered. The key deliverables. We have 5 key items that have been identified as deliverables for this project. Major growth infrastructure delivery and funding framework. Background report. Implementation, transition strategy. Proposed offsite levy bylaw and resolutions, and other administrative recommendations. The future growth areas. The conceptual revised growth areas were to an 80,000 population expected at build-out of the pre-annexation area. That's what this report refers to. When you look at the net developable area, the total area is 1,733 acres. That's the total area encompassed by the developer land holdings. The non-developable portion of that area equates to 8.9%, or 154 acres. And that's made up of public utility lot acquisitions, which is 5 acres, or 0.3%, road right-of-way acquisitions, 1.4%, or 24 acres, and environmental reserve, including Nose Creek 1 in 100-year flood elevation, 7.2%, or 125 acres. And that makes up the non-developable part. The net developable area is, of course, the difference between that and the total, which works out to 91.2%, or 1,579 acres. When we did an assessment of the transportation, we looked at the projects that had the full levy collected previously, and at this point in time there were none. Several projects were added in 2015. So several projects were identified but not levied, and projects that had full levy collected and no current levy proposed for 2015 were also identified. Potable water, very similar. We went through the same process, and there were projects that have had the full levy collected previously. We looked at that, and there weren't any. The project added in 2015, there was one. Projects identified but not levied, there were 3 of those. And projects that have had the full levy collected and no current levy proposed for in 2015, there weren't any. Then we went to the wastewater. Again, the same process. We looked at the projects that have had the full levy collected previously, there weren't any. There were 5 projects added in 2015, and there were 3 projects identified but not levied in this report. The projects that have had a full levy collected and no current levy proposed for in 2015, there were 4 of those. During the developer discussions, there was signalization was one of the subjects. And so signalization per quarter section at $175,000 per signal at 3 signals per quarter section. It was discussed with the community, the development community. Item was discussed with the development community, but due to the existing methodology for signalization of arterial roads, it was recommended that a levy not be applied to the pre-annexed lands, but to be reviewed for the newly annexed lands which do not have any development or existing agreements at this time. So when we look at the proposed 2016 levies, and including the Calgary charge...
Sorry, Richard.
Sorry?
Why? Can you answer the question, why?
Because we were going to be including that with the newly annexed areas.
Yeah,
not
but
in the past.
so why not existing, I guess is my question.
Because those were already applied during the, for signalization of the arterial roads, the arterial roads in existing development.
Thanks, thanks, Bob.
Through your worship, what we were trying to do there was to address some of the developer concerns as they were developing along and making their collector road connections to the arterials. Then we were requiring that they construct a signal. So if it was like Cooper's Drive and Winsong Drive connecting to 8th Street as an example, we'd require that Westmark pay for half and then Mattamy pay for half. So so we said maybe to soften those costs that we'd incorporate that straight within the levy. And so we threw that out there. They discussed it, and then they were happy with the way things were.
Thank you, that made sense. Councillor Coulson.
So currently, we've already collected those costs. Is that why we're not including it within what we? No,
we collected on a collector road connection by collector road connection as the development evolves, and the developer anywhere in the city connects to the arterial. Then that's when we do the traffic signal warrant, and that's when they're required to.
So either way, the developers are paying for the traffic signals. It's just a matter of
the one that's included within the levy is arterial to arterial connection. That would be like 8th Street and 40th Avenue. That would be included in the levy. But the other ones are different because that's we don't know how many collector roads are going to connect to the arterial for one thing, and then that's part of the response. We deem the responsibility of the developer to pay for the traffic control at that intersection.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hunter, and then we'll move back to Richard, please.
Through the chair, so I'm trying to kind of visualize this. So right now on Yankee Valley, we have the main arterial coming out of Bayside, but they've just recently put a new road that is going to connect on to Yankee Valley. So that's 2 separate ones. How would we collect on either of those, or would they be both the same?
So the first one that you're talking about is Bayside Boulevard that goes up to Nose Creek School there. That was that developer's responsibility. It's a T intersection, so they were responsible for the 100% of the cost of that. That was Genesis that would pay for that one. And then the other collector road you're talking about further east, I think it's called Bayview Street, and
No, further west.
Further west,
Right
yeah.
at the church, right at the
Right
church
at,
there.
yes, and that's called Bayview Street. And so Genesis is paying for roughly half of that. And then on the south side, Brookfield would pay for the other half of that. They're developing to the south of Yankee Valley Boulevard.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
We're just trying to see how confident you are, Richard, because you're on a real roll there. So now we've interrupted you. Now you got to continue on the same roll.
No problem.
Whenever you're ready. Sorry about that. Thank you.
No, that's fine, thank you. No matter which way you look at it, how it's being paid for, it is still being paid for by the development industry. It's just, this is a different way that we were going to present it to them for the newly annexed areas. Like they say, to sort of soften the blow for everybody, it'll just be done in a different manner. So when we get to the proposed 2016 levies and Calgary charge included with it, there's all the various components, and I'm not going to go through all the numbers through here unless you want me to. There's the transportation, the wastewater base, and then the potable water engineering, the levy report, enhanced landscaping, pathway, and land acquisition, and the public utility lots land acquisition contribution, as well as the Calgary water wastewater charge. And as you can see, some of them have gone up by a certain percentage, and some have also been reduced by a certain percentage. So in total, in 2013, the rate was per acre 83,788. The 2016 proposed rates per acre is 97,229 for an incremental difference of 13,441, or a 16% increase. So within the levies, there are various subcatchment areas that apply depending on where your land is and where the benefiting areas determine who is benefiting and who would be responsible to pay for their portion there of the levies. That's what this chart represents. It's a very busy chart, but the information is actually fairly straightforward when you take a look at it. So we did a comparison of the levies previously and proposed for 2016 with a few different communities. And you can see the city of Airdrie in 2013, the levy was 83,788, which includes the existing Calgary water wastewater recovery charge of 19,109 per acre. And the proposed about is 97,299, or a 16.1% increase, which includes proposed connection fee equivalents of 8,570 per acre, or 1,080 per residential unit times 8 units per acre for the Calgary water wastewater recovery charge. So they're both in there, but again, it's just how it's being collected. I believe Lauren explained that earlier. It's just a difference on how it's being collected. Town of Cochrane 2015 was 52,041, and they're proposing 2016 of 61,758, or an 18.7% increase. And theirs includes excludes the potable water reservoirs and pump stations. Those are items that are included in levies for the city of Airdrie. It's the city of Okotoks, or town of Okotoks, sorry, 2012, 51,215 previously, and proposed for 2016 is 61,676 for a 20.4% increase. City of Red Deer 2012 was 76,230. They're proposing to go up to 86,326 for a percent increase of 13.2. And then the City of Calgary, which includes a stormwater levy for trunks based on the catchment areas, and recreation contribution of 31,923 per acre, which was agreed to between the City of Calgary and UDI. In 2015, they were at 127,368, and they're proposing for 2016, and this is an average because there's variances depending where you are, 178,574, or a 41% increase. So are there any questions?
Yes, Councillor Burley, please.
Thank you, Worship. With those numbers, Richard, are we really comparing apples to apples then? Because some include some exclude others. So how do you know? I mean, I need to get a gist of where we are in comparison to the others, but this really doesn't show me that when one includes one and one includes the other. So
It depends on the jurisdiction and what they have defined as a levied item. You know, like I said, for example, when you look at Cochrane, you know, they don't include water reservoirs and pump stations. When you look at Calgary, they're including trunk mains and based on the catchment areas plus a recreational levy. So when you look at the numbers, we did the best we could in trying to get them down to a direct comparison, but there is that difference. Everybody defines what is a levied item differently. It depends what jurisdiction you're in. So it's very difficult to do a complete apples to apples.
Councillor Coulson.
Just getting back to that disparity maybe between communities, is it possibility, they don't get their wastewater and water from Calgary, they don't send waste back. Could that be lay in the difference?
Through the chair, actually Cochrane does take their wastewater back to Calgary. They do have action. The City of Red Deer, of course, has their own, and City of Calgary has their own as well.
Could that be why Airdrie is so much closer to the Calgary charges? Is that we rely on Calgary versus those other communities do not?
Through the chair, that certainly is an influence. I would have no doubt that if a community such as Okotoks were having to fund water trunk infrastructure and sewer trunk infrastructure into the City of Calgary, their rates would be significantly higher than what they are.
Okay.
And similar for Cochrane, by virtue of topography and proximity, they do treat their own water.
And Red Deer having their own facilities.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you.
And we'll get a clearer picture on Okotoks when because they're going to be aligning with Calgary here, I would think, very quickly. Sorry, did you want to comment?
I was just going to, through the chair.
Actually, I wasn't pointing at you, Richard, because you turned your microphone over to your neighbor. I wasn't sure if you wanted to comment or not. Sorry to put you on the spot.
I was trying not to speak.
Oh, okay.
During the presentation. We did ask for instance, Cochrane to see if there was a connection fee.
So I
Councillor
guess,
Hunter.
you know, the comparisons are nice. I see little value in it because when I do my projects, I don't say to the guy across the street, what are you paying? I say, what is my cost to do it? What is the cost to deliver it? To me, all those comparisons, all they are is justifications for keeping a percentage increase. It has little value in actually performing the work, getting it done, getting it into the ground. If I've got 100 miles to go to Calgary, it's per mile cost. How do you accomplish that? All that other stuff. I guess, I mean, I see it because that's the way it's always been done. We've always compared it to other communities, but I don't, it doesn't really do a lot for me in saying, is that good value for Airdrie? To me, it's what does it cost us to provide it in Airdrie? All those other communities. And again, when you're comparing things like Cochrane, well, Cochrane's got what, 12,000 people? So again, or maybe a little higher, but compared to our size, in Calgary's, I'm doing a couple projects right now where I'm tying brand new infrastructure into 105-year-old storms and electrical grids and things like that. So all those comparisons have absolutely no bearing on what my final end cost is going to be. So just kind of a comment on that comparison piece.
Through the chair, if I could just comment on that.
Go ahead, Richard.
Thank you. As you know, Cochrane does have over 20,000 population, but there are certain things which are very expensive that they put the onus on the developer. For example, if an area needs a water reservoir and a pump station, it's up to the first developer in to construct that. We were involved with one of those, and then as other developers develop in that area and connect to it, they will pay and endeavor to assist. Whereas the philosophy here and in other communities is very different. So it is, I understand what you're saying, that, you know, we're trying to do a comparison here, but if you look at the percentages increase, they're relatively close, except City of Calgary, of course, is going up. And if you're to develop in any of these communities, you know, you have to look at these costs and what a developer would have to pay.
Your Worship, if I could.
Go ahead, Lorne.
I was just going to add, and I was probably the one that hammered on BSEI and staff to ensure that we did have some comparisons here, because I know that other times when we have returned to council, that is what's happening regionally is of value. Certainly that is not the focus of the report. The focus of the report is that the technical meat and potatoes, but we did just want to provide that for an overall regional flavor of what is happening with levies in those communities. Thank you.
There was no lack of that detail in their report, let me tell you. Very interesting reading on a Sunday evening. Is there any questions for these gentlemen before we open it up to the public? Okay, and what we'll do is we'll keep it open so that we can ask questions before we close the session if there's any other that's indirectly related or somebody comes forward and we can't answer that question, okay? So I'll ask if there's anyone present who would like to speak in favor of bylaws B58 2015. For a second time, if there's anyone present who'd like to speak in favor of bylaw B58 2015. These gentlemen will move if you want to come up. Don't be intimidated by that. We'll ask them to step down. For a third and final time, oh, yes, there is. Please come forward.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council. My name is Bev Jarvis. I am with the Urban Development Institute. I really didn't have much to say beyond the letter, I believe, that was circulated to you over the weekend or today, perhaps. We wanted to certainly acknowledge the staff and the administration and consultant BSEI for the great work that they've done on this and the opportunity to consult. We've, obviously had a number of questions along the way, and as the report to council indicates, there were some differing opinions on the development cost philosophy, although at the end of the day, we are quite content that the collaboration is what it is, and we're pleased to have been a participant in this process. And I probably can't answer any technical questions, which I'll defer, obviously, to this great team. But again, I just wanted to express our support. Thank you.
Thanks, Bev. Just a question for you. The development cost philosophy that's in your letter, so obviously there's aspects that you don't agree with. Can you quickly elaborate what they might be?
Just really briefly, and it's less a matter of agreeing or disagreeing as it is sort of the shades of gray, if you will, and referring to things like to the combination of development, new developed areas, existing areas, regional uses, that sort of thing. And so there's always a little bit of swing or play in that, and perspectives vary, but for the most part, I think we've achieved something that we can all live with. And obviously, the ultimate is to, the critical piece is healthy, sustainable growth. And as developers, we're invested in that.
So just, can you give me a quick example of something on the cost benefit side? Like are you talking like a rail bridge that we're constructing?
Exactly.
So something like that, okay.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it.
Yeah, no, I read it in our report. I guess the challenge from my perspective is we wouldn't have to build a bridge if there wasn't new houses. There's no need to build a bridge. So we keep building communities. So all of that stuff, to me, it's a no-brainer. So I'm always curious to hear the reasons why the development industry would be not understanding that that is their responsibility, not the community's, because the only reason it's happening is because we're continuing to develop. 20 years ago, we wouldn't need one. Now, absolutely, for sure, we need one. I believe Councillor Hunter had a question for you.
Yeah, just can you, what percentage of developers do you guys represent here in Airdrie? Is it 50, 60?
Sorry, through your worship, that's a very good question. To be perfectly honest, I can't say exactly what that number is because it is a variation, but I will say that over the years, the work that we've done with administration and staff, we've also at times reached out to other developers in the community who are not members of UDI to have the benefit of a more collective voice. So we haven't worked exclusively at all times of those other developers. We think it's important to incorporate all developers, members and non-members in those collaborations. And Your Worship, if I may also go back and address your previous comment respectfully, I appreciate the comment with respect to wouldn't need a bridge if it wasn't for the development, but at the end of the day, when the development comes along, not to be cheeky with respect, the street goes, the roadway goes both ways. So there are certainly sometimes benefits to existing residents to be able to access services or opportunities that exist in the new growth areas. I appreciate your comment. It's a little bit of a stretch, but maybe that's where that benefit allocation comes in.
It's Christmas.
It's Christmas.
It's Christmas.
You'll give that one to me.
From here, we'll move on to the. Thank you, Bev. I really appreciate your
Thank you very
comments.
much.
And
Merry
you know what?
Christmas to all.
Appreciate the letter as well. I think everybody had an opportunity to review it. And lastly, we'll go to
Your
Councillor
Worship,
Chapman, please.
I'm just want to confirm, according to our report, it says that 90% of Airdrie developers are members of UDI. Would that be pretty much correct? Our report says 90% are members of UDI.
There's a significant number. We represent, obviously, some of the larger developers. So the question, I guess, where I get lost on this is whether it's numbers or percentages. So, you know, the Qualicos, Brookfields, the list goes on. At those larger developers that are working in the city, what I wouldn't be able to respond to is perhaps some of the smaller but very active developers that aren't part of UDI. So
Perfect. Thank you.
I know a couple. Thank you very much.
thank you. Appreciate it.
For a third and final time, if there is anyone present who would like to speak in favor of bylaw B58, 2015. Okay, there being none, is there anyone who would like to speak against bylaw B58, 2015? Don't be shy. Please come forward. Just hit the red button there, please.
All right, step one complete. Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. My name is Jordan Dawson. I'm a representative of BD Development Group. We are the largest industrial developer and landlord within the Airdrie market, and actually the largest industrial developer within Western Canada. Specifically, we're focused on our Highland Park Industrial Park in the northeast of Airdrie. Currently, we're at about 1 million square feet built out. And we have plans to continue that growth in the Airdrie market. We've been very successful at approaching various Calgary and general area businesses and attracting them to the Airdrie market. The reason I'm here to chat with you tonight is we've gone through the levy structure as proposed, and based on our review, we take particular issue with the transportation levy as it's laid out. As you'll see in the notes that were just presented, there's a significant increase in the transportation levy. We feel that, especially based on where we are located and what we do, that level of increase for the transportation levy at this time in the economic climate that we're facing in the Alberta market is very tough for us to just sit back and let that one go. We appreciate that it's being offset by the changes to the water connection levy structure, but over time, that's not going to be there. So when you take that out of the equation, it's a 69% increase, which translates into, I believe it was called $23,000 or $25,000 per acre amount. That's a significant amount in our world. We are, as I mentioned, the largest, but we are, I'd say, almost the standalone large-scale industrial developer in the Airdrie market. So we're part of the 10% that is not affiliated with UDI. And with that, a great deal of the levy discussion has been focused on the residential side. To some degree, it's been basically, I don't know how to put it, but it's ignored the industrial development side, and it's ignored how that levy impacts our line of work. We really do strive to push people to move to Airdrie and locate their businesses here. But with those kind of increases, I mean, we're looking at our land, and you're probably around, give or take, 6% increase in land costs just with this levy hitting in January 16. That's the exact opposite of what we need going into this market. If you equate that back to $1 per square foot when we do our industrial condominium sales, it's approximately, I think, about $1.35 a square foot, which doesn't sound like much, but our spread to Calgary is only $5 in terms of our price points. So that's material, and the only reason we are really attracting people is the value option that Airdrie provides, and with that, the community that surrounds it. So for us, this transportation levy, it's difficult for us to sit back and just let this one go by. We've enjoyed our relationship working with Airdrie over the last, I guess it's 9 years. But this is one of those items where we feel it's in our best interest to step forward and actually make a point of letting it be known that at this time, it's very difficult for us to sit back and agree to having this levy imposed on us.
Jordan, so your conversation, you've obviously had conversations with the administration, so where is that? Where are we, where did you agree to disagree? What's an
Essentially, and you know.
Sorry, did you come up with an acceptable number or a strategy moving forward that would work for everyone, or?
Short answer, no, but I mean, Lauren and Bob and I did have a good chat, and we went through kind of their methodology in terms of how it's laid out. I discussed what our standpoint is, and effectively we did agree to disagree. I mean, going forward, our discussions have been that we will keep the dialogue open, and we'll see if there's any other methodologies that can be used going forward to potentially amend how things are looked at. Specifically, I mean, with us being in the Northeast, for us to be paying that kind of transportation levy for projects that are almost exclusively on the other side of the highway and even further from us in the southwest corner for residential development, it doesn't make sense for us, especially with the fact that in our location, we will likely never see any future benefit from transportation levies, with the exception of, I guess, the extension of veterans. There would be some benefit to us there. But other than that, that infrastructure really isn't going to benefit us going forward. So effectively, we will keep the dialogue open, but for this January 1st deadline, effectively it's going to, theoretically, if it gets approved, go in place, and it is what it is on our end, and we're going to be facing that increase.
So, do you want to make a comment, Lauren, please?
Yeah, through your worship, so we did have, staff did last week have a sit down with BD, and a couple of things. We did provide some additional information to BD, and just I guess part of this was us comparing the number to the number, because as we've heard even council commenting on tonight, sometimes you're not always comparing apples to apples. But what we did do is with BD and their last two developments, look at what they would have paid in development charges under the old or existing levy structure, and then giving the changes proposed, including the connection fee charges, what that would look like moving forward. And just for council's information, the results we provided, the other development, it was about 8.5%. We did comment that the overall increase to the residential was going up about 16%. So we felt that there was less of an impact to the commercial industrial, but certainly I understand BD's point that whether it's 8.5% or 10%, that is an impact. I did note in some follow-up discussion and correspondence with BD that if we had done nothing but increased, an inflationary factor 3%, 4% per annum during that time frame, we probably would be exceeding what those cost increases are right now. But I am totally understanding the comments that BD has made about a competitive market and an economic downturn. The one additional piece as a go forward that the city committed to was there were a number of perspectives that BD brought up about different cost recovery scenarios and philosophies. And certainly if you pick a different philosophy, you will get a different number, and there's no question in our minds about that. Staff have undertaken a commitment to BD to drill down on what some of those different cost methodologies would be, and particularly as they have, if we applied those over time, and what the difference would be to BD. And we certainly indicated to BD that should the result of that show that they've been disadvantaged in some way, that we would certainly be open to further discussions. Without, I don't know exactly what they would take. We are doing some additional analysis, and we expect that to be done by the end of January.
Thank you, Lauren. Sorry, Councillor Hunter, please.
Well, I guess through the chair, reality. So if I had to add $1.30 to my square foot cost on my stuff right now, I can tell you for sure that a number of perspectives that I'm working on right now, they're walking away. They're going to other places, and I don't know what the cost comparison would be in Rocky View, but again, so that's not in this piece of the puzzle. But again, adding that cost on there and developing space that you're not going to be able to put to the market doesn't benefit anybody. Vacant spaces aren't going to do anybody any good. So again, I feel for what you're saying, and I'm in a similar industry, and I really get that putting it in there, it's all well and good to say, here's what we need to do to capture all that residential growth, but in these particular cases, and I see the city's perspective as well, you want to capture it all. How do you come up with something that works for everybody in this particular case? I can really see it putting a damper on what you guys are trying to build and trying to do, especially this quick in this economy, because it's a cumulative effect of everything that we're presenting to you, not just this one. We have a bunch of other things that are in that mix as well. And so what's the cumulative? And boy, at $1.30 so far, I say if I was signing a lease deal, I'd be stepping back from it for sure. So
I appreciate that. And again, I mean, to Lauren's point, there is that offset. So I guess theoretically our costs are going up, called 8-9% based on what we have done on the last two buildings. But again, if that waste, the way that the water is being dealt with wasn't changing at this same time, that increase would be significantly more on the gross basis for this. So it is a little bit of a timing mechanism that those two things are offsetting. So I think that's part of why it doesn't look as bad on the front end. But for someone like us who doesn't stand to benefit from that additional $23,000 an acre, it is significant because it could actually be coming off the bottom line rather than just having a, whatever it is, 8-9% increase.
So, Jordan, I'm not suggesting which way this is going to go, but are you willing to, Lauren said they're going to be doing some detailed analysis of some of the challenges in your area. Are you okay to wait? Or what are you seeing this as? What are you looking for this evening from council?
Well, I mean, the intent from our standpoint was to let our feelings be known in terms of the levies as they're proposed now. So I guess in effect, I mean, we are here to basically throw up our hand and say that we are opposed to the structure that's in place right now.
Okay, fair enough. I was going to say, to Bev's point, I'm sure the people that lease your building will utilize the bridge and deliver their products, goods, and services around the community. So, sorry, Bev, I couldn't help myself, not to make light of the situation, but I understand what you're saying, but I believe that our administration has been very transparent. I connected with you and your team with Kent not too long ago to try and figure out a way to get through this, and obviously this council is so supportive of business growth in the community, so we're willing to work with you. I just think I don't have all the answers tonight.
I appreciate that, and Lauren and Bob have done a great job putting together the information, and we did have a good dialogue. It's just one of those where, in essence, I think at this point for us, this may potentially just be a timing issue in terms of getting the ball rolling for taking a look at it from our perspective. And now we've got January 1st coming up, and there simply isn't enough time for us to actually resolve, I think, what the outstanding issues might be.
Well, the one thing we're not short of is creativity, and I think that there's some great opportunities moving forward. So we'll figure out a way to get things done.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Council.
And thanks for coming forward, Jordan. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
I think, are we a second time or a third time, Sharon? Sorry. So that was second, or are we at second? Okay. For a second time, if there's anyone present who would like to speak against bylaw B58 2015. And for a third and final time, if there's someone present who'd like to speak against bylaw B58 2015. Okay, there being none, I'd like to invite staff to come forward if there's any questions of council that you've been holding on to as it relates to any of our presenters. I'll allow that in question period. Councillor Coulson.
So we heard from BD the 68% increase, and that in actuality it sort of worked out to approximately 10. When comparing it to residential,
16%.
16%. Okay. I guess just we have no business tax in our community, so I think we are very supportive of business, and just looking at that northeast corner when ProPac and Eaton and those large employers get out, puts significant pressure on our roads. So I would assume that there would be a benefit to those businesses and attracting maybe some of that larger industrial, which is what some of our priorities are, to upgrade those roads, and everybody pays their share.
Okay, sorry, go ahead, Lauren, and then we'll go to Councillor Worley, please.
Just a response and probably a recap through your worship on some of the discussions with Beatty. Again, and we may not see eye to eye on this. I think some of the perspectives shared was, Beatty was saying we're in the northeast quadrant, we're doing industrial, we don't benefit from some of the transportation infrastructure in for instance, the southwest. Part of the reason there's some additional evaluation going on is also to, there is some discussion about, if you open up new residential development areas, you're also providing potentially workforce, customers, and so forth. If you're in industrial areas, you may be building roads to a heavier standard, I think, as you've alluded to address industrial development. So we're just taking some additional time to evaluate those different perspectives as well as some different costing scenarios in response to some of Beatty's concerns.
Thank you. Calderman, wow, that was a Calderman. It's my first night on councillor. Sorry, everybody. Councillor Burley, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Lauren, when did this project start to do this evaluation?
Through Your Worship, I believe it was April that the analysis part kicked off, and I think it was into October, I believe, before the actual first development industry session was held. Is that correct, Tim?
Through the chair was September 16th was the first, and October 22nd was the second consultation.
So while this has been, we're getting close to the deadline, it has been ongoing for 8 or 9 months. So it's not like we're just all of a sudden sprung everything on that we're going to approve this 2 weeks before it happens.
Through Your Worship, no. I believe that staff have been quite clear in their intention to proceed even to council earlier than December 20th.
In fact, other than Jordan and his team, I hadn't really been contacted from the industry directly as it relates to the process or what's ultimately being presented this evening. So any other comments or questions for Lauren or Tim? Or no? Okay. So Lauren, I just want to say to you and Tracy and your team, what I appreciate the most is the transparency of the process, the fact that we're transparent as it relates to how we allocate the dollars. I don't know that every community goes to that extreme to actually showcase how this money is spent, why it's being spent. So I really appreciate that piece. I would like to, I have to just get a better understanding of this because I'm really not clear on the challenges that we have with the Beatty Group piece. But if I feel confident that you're going to come forward and whatever your findings, you'll deliver some information to us, and if we have to make some changes, that ability is here at our council level, correct? So I'm comfortable with that. So from there, we're going to go through with the process. I'll invite actually the introduction to the first reading. Yes, you may. I'm sorry, I have not closed the public hearing. There are no questions, correct? We are complete. So I will close the public hearing for bylaw B58 2015, and I'll move to first reading to Councillor Hunter, please.
Okay, so I guess maybe Tim's got a little bit more to say on bylaw B58 2015 being the off-site levy bylaw.
Yeah, I'd just like to present the alternatives and implications and staff recommendations to council. The first alternative is that council choose to give 3 readings to bylaw number B58 2015. With this alternative, the proposed levies would be adopted and effective January 1st, 2016. Second alternative, council can choose to table bylaw B58 2015. This alternative would suggest that council does not have sufficient information to support the bylaws presented. Staff would request specific direction as to which further information council would require to move forward with a decision. Third alternative, council can choose to defeat bylaw number B58 2015. The alternative would suggest that Council does not support the bylaws presented, this option would leave the issue of funding new infrastructure unresolved and potentially significant implications on the tax base. With that, staff recommendation is that Council gives 3 readings to bylaw number B58, 2015, being a bylaw to establish new offsite levies effective January 1st, 2016.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Any other questions for staff? Okay, there being none, Councillor Hunter, please.
So I'll make a motion for first reading of bylaw B 58, 2015, being a bylaw to establish new offsite levies.
Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed? One being opposed. Alderman Hunter. Deputy Mayor Bellick, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Second reading.
All those in favor? All those opposed? One opposed. Alderman Hunter. And then we have, Councillor Chapman, please.
Your Worship, permission for third reading bylaw B58, 2015.
Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed? One opposed. So we'll be moving this bylaw to the next meeting, January, first Monday in January. I'm sorry, I don't have the date. January which, sorry, Sharon? 18th. January 18th? Okay, thank you very much, Sharon. Okay, we're moving on to 9.2A. Yes, that would be Alderman Hunter, please.
So Shannon is going to introduce bylaw B 62, 2015, amendment to water bylaw.
Sorry, thank you, Richard. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Bob.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of Council. I'm here this evening to request a couple updates to the water and sewer bylaw. Sharon, can I use the mouse? This clicker's not working. There's a little switch on the side. Oh, thanks. There we go. I'm just going to go through the 3 updates really quickly for you. The first update relates to connection fees, which were touched on a bit in the previous levy presentation. Currently, developers are charged a per hectare rate for water and wastewater growth impacts, regardless of land use density or specific utility system impact. With our new master servicing agreement with the City of Calgary, a new utility rate-based model of growth-related cost recovery was developed. The new fee will be based on the water meter size of each property, which better reflects the actual growth impact to the utility system. The connection fee and new methodology have been shared with the developer and builder community, with no significant concerns being raised. The second update relates to the price of water meters. Our current contract expires on December 31st of this year, so we went out to RFP recently. This is a competitive bid process, and we have awarded the contract now. We did see significant cost increases from all vendor submissions, mainly due to the unfavorable U.S. exchange rate at the moment. And due to this meter pricing in Schedule C of the water bylaw does require some updating. We are also recommending a couple changes relating to the water for construction purposes. The new process requires all water to be drawn from bulk water stations instead of the hydrants. This will reduce the risk of contamination and helps us to track our annual water consumption accurately. The third update relates to the sewer bylaw. Administration is recommending a couple revisions to ensure the bylaw is in line with the City of Calgary. The first one is to ensure we can charge a penalty for any substance over the approved concentration levels. And the second one is to include a surcharge when the COD, which is a chemical oxygen demand, is found to be above appropriate levels. These updates are important. As per the new servicing agreement, the City of Airdrie can be fined up to $25,000 a month if the hydrogen sulfide gas levels are over 5 parts per million. At this time, administration is recommending that Council give 3 readings to each of the bylaws. Council could also choose to table or defeat the bylaw at this time, which may require amending the 2016 budget. There are a few people in the audience here tonight to help answer any questions if you may have any on this topic. First, Glenn Archer is here from Public Works if you have questions relating to the sewer bylaw amendments. And Linda Cook from Urban Systems is here, as well as Lauren, if you have any questions in regards to the connection fees. This does conclude my presentation tonight.
Thanks, Shannon. Councillor Hunter.
Just guess maybe I haven't had enough supper. The connection between the hydrogen sulfide and the increased fee. Can you kind of connect those two for me?
Through your worship, council. Through your worship. Some of the effluent considerations like fat oils and greases and biological demand means vegetables that are ground up in your carburetor and other means by which organic material gets into the system, and the normal byproduct of humans using the wastewater system. There is sulfides in all those streams, and those sulfides can generate hydrogen sulfide gas. So we have a process in the bylaw that we can charge people if their effluent strength gets too strong and creates those byproducts.
Okay, that answers to your satisfaction. Thank you, Glenn. Any other comments for Shannon or Glenn? Okay. I believe Councillor Hunter, you are first.
Okay, so make a motion for first reading bylaw B62 2015 amendment to water bylaw.
Thank you.
Sorry, just one moment. There was an amendment that just came through on the sewer and water bylaws. We needed to change 2 words in the one paragraph. We needed to, sorry, let me find the right one here.
Is that the amendments? I think that's on amending second, is it not, Sharon? Is that already not included when for Councillor Coulson? She's amending a second. And then we're permission for third.
Yes, Your Worship, it would be amended prior to second, between first and second.
Yes.
But I think Shannon just wanted to make sure that she had brought that to council's attention.
Okay, sorry, and it was on it's on my sheet. It may not be on everybody else's sheet.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready, Shannon, go ahead.
Okay, it was just in relation to when we charge the connection fee. On the commercial side, it's going to be charged at time of development agreement, not final inspection. That was the only change, is those 2 words.
Okay. So we have Councillor Hunter's intro to first. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Councillor Coulson, please.
I would like to make a motion to amend bylaw B62 2015 to represent time at development agreement. Is that, yep.
And I believe that's correct.
Okay, and move second reading, Your Worship.
Thank you so much. All those in favor?
Oh, sorry.
Apologize. Continue.
We need 2 separate, so motion to amend.
All those in favor? It's unanimous.
And motion for second reading, Your Worship.
Thank you. Including the amendment. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Councillor Chapman, please. Oh, I apologize, Deputy Mayor Bellick.
Thank you, through the chair. I had permission for third for B62 2015.
Okay, all those in favor? It's unanimous. And Councillor Chapman, please.
Your worship, I'd like to move third reading.
Thank you. All those in favor? It's unanimous. 9.2B. We should be able to go through this. Councillor Coulson, please.
Do you have anything to add, Shannon, or do you just want us to? Okay. First reading of bylaw B63, 2015.
Okay, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Bellick.
And first, I'd like to amend B63 2015.
All those in favor? It's unanimous.
And second reading.
Thank you. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Councillor Chapman, please.
Your worship, I'd like to move permission for third reading.
Thank you. All those in favor? It's unanimous. And Councillor Hunter, finally, please.
Motion for third reading for bylaw B63 2015.
Excellent. Thank you. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We are now, thank you, Shannon. Moving on to item number 9.3. Councillor Burley, please.
Thank you, Worship. We have Monica coming forward with a debenture bylaw for land purchase for civic uses, bylaw B60 2015. Whenever you're ready.
Your Honor, members of council, I'm here tonight to ask you to give first reading to bylaw B60 2015 for the purpose of purchasing land for civic use. The debenture process is rather lengthy, and the earliest this particular bylaw could become valid, if all goes smoothly here, is March the 2nd. A valid debenture bylaw must be in place prior to proceeding with any land acquisitions. The 2015 approved capital budget included a tonight to initiate the debenture process in order to have more flexibility later in the year to be able to act on opportunities in a timely fashion. Any land purchases not to approve of potential opportunities for specific land purchases as they come up, no funds would be drawn from the debenture and no payments would be required. At this time, Council has three alternatives. The first is to give first reading to bylaw B60 2015 to allow the debenture to move forward, to be advertised and allow for the petition period, and then to come back for second and third readings in early 2016. Council could choose to defeat this bylaw, which may then delay potential land purchases until such time as other financing arrangements could be made and approved. Or Council could choose to table this bylaw for further review, and this could potentially delay any potential land purchases later on. At this time, administration is recommending Council proceed with giving first reading to debenture bylaw 60 2015. And that concludes my presentation on this particular bylaw. I'm able to answer any questions.
Thanks, Monica. Sorry, Councillor Hunter, please.
Through the chair, so just to recap, so this is kind of a what-if situation. If opportunity arises, we've got money, we can move forward and that type of thing. We're not talking without going into the realm of land, legal, or labor. This is just sort of a general type thing, okay?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you.
And, sir, my memory is lousy, as you know, Monica. Have we done this process before in the last few years? For any specific item, do you recall?
We have not used debentures recently for the land purchase, no. Previously, we have had smaller land purchases, and we've drawn from reserves in more recent years.
Okay. Thank you. Any comment? Excellent. All those in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor Bellick, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll ask Monica to give us details on number B64 2015. Debenture bylaw for Main Street lift station upgrade.
Okay, so number 2 here. Your Honor, members of council, I'm here tonight to ask for first reading for bylaw B64 2015 for the main lift station upgrades. In this case, the 2016 approved capital budget included 2 projects for the Main Street lift station upgrades, with planned funding from debentures as well as reserves. The projects involved an upgrade due to growth pressures as well as a life cycle component. The life cycle component portion is funded through our general sewer reserve, whereas the growth portion is funded through the sewer offsite levies, and a portion of that's required through debenture. So this means that the debenture funding for the growth portion will be made through our sewer offsite levies and not impact our tax base. And at this time, council has three alternatives. The first, to give reading to bylaw B64 2015 to allow the debenture to move forward, to be advertised, and allow for the petition period to come back for second and third readings in 2016. Council could choose to defeat the bylaw, which will then delay the growth-related construction for this project until such time as other financing arrangements are made and approved, or council could choose to table this bylaw for further review. This was also delay the growth-related construction for this project, as we do require the debenture to be in effect prior to construction beginning. At this time, administration is recommending council proceed with giving first reading to bylaw B64 2015. And that concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thanks, Monica. We're sorry we weren't talking while you were speaking. The question was, isn't this project already underway?
A portion of it is.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, so that we just wanted to get clarification on that.
But that's the 2015
Yeah,
approved
no,
portion.
we
This is
yeah,
second.
understand that piece. There was just a little confusion on that one particular spot because we can all see the construction going on. So, so if there is no comments for Monica, let's get this going and go Deputy Mayor Bellick, please.
Thank you. First reading of B64 2015, debenture bylaw for Main Street Square lift station upgrade.
No,
Just correction, it's not Main Street Square.
it's definitely not Main Street
Sorry,
Square. It's
Main Street lift station.
Yes.
Upgrade.
And it does look, it actually looks great too, by the way, you guys. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Councillor Coulson, please.
Monica, once again, please speak to us about our roadworks capital projects.
Okay, so this debenture here, we're asking for first reading for bylaw B65 2015 for our 2016 roadworks capital projects. In particular, these two projects are for the four-laning of 8th Street between Yankee Valley Boulevard and Hillcrest Way, as well as the four-laning of Yankee Valley Boulevard between Bayside Gate and 24th Street, all due to growth pressures. These debenture payments will be paid through the road's off-site reserve, and again, this means that debenture payments will not be paid through the tax rates. At this time, council again has three alternatives. The first, to give first reading to bylaw B65 2015. The second would be to defeat this bylaw, which would then delay the growth-related construction for this project until such time as other financing arrangements could be made, or council could choose to table bylaw 64 2015 for further review. At this time, administration is recommending council proceed with giving first reading to debenture bylaw B65 2015.
Thank you, Monica. I believe Deputy Mayor Bellick, whenever you're ready, please. Sorry, Councillor Coulson.
First reading of bylaw B65 2015.
Thank you. All those in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you very much, Monica.
Thank you.
We have nothing for financial position and nothing for business arising. Agenda reports. We have one. Councillor Burley, please. And does anybody need a quick break?
I would love that.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. It's going to. Sharon, are you ready? Thank you. We're going to reconvene the meeting. Thanks, everybody, for your patience. Moving on to 12.1 and introductions to Councillor Burley, please.
Thank you, Worship. Patty's coming forward to present options regarding the operating of the TNC Community Hall. Whenever you're ready.
Good evening, Mayor Brown and members of City Council. Administration is presenting information to City Council that outlines the operating plan for the community halls at the Town and Country Centre to ensure that the city-owned asset is operated and maintained in a manner that is consistent with other civic assets and that the community has access to this facility. The Town and Country Centre, as you know, was Airdrie's first multi-use community facility that was built in 1977. At that time, the facility was operated by the Town and Country Society, which was comprised of the mayor and members of council and representatives from the Curling Club, the Over 50 Club, and the library. The facility has been operating under a community-driven model, whereby the municipality provided the community's organizations the right to operate their respective programs and services independently. The city has provided maintenance of the facility's building envelope, the mechanical systems, the life systems, the electrical systems, the plumbing, the parking lot maintenance, and the water and sewer at no charge. The Airdrie Columbus Society has operated the Town and Country Community Halls for a number of years under a lease agreement. In February 2015, the Columbus Society gave notice to the City of Airdrie of their intention to resign from the community hall operation responsibilities as of December 31st, 2015. Through a request for proposal and RFP process, the city advertised to the community the opportunity to operate the Town and Country Community Halls. However, we were not successful. Given the need to ensure that the facility is maintained and accessible to the community, the city has committed to leveraging existing resources to operate the community halls. Through the RFP process, the city has received feedback regarding the positive attributes and the limitations of the facility as it exists today. It is worth noting that Airdrie is a very different community than it was when the facility was built. The population at that time was approximately 2,000 people, and today we're just shy of 60,000 people. Between early December 2015 and January 4th, 2016, the city team has been working closely with the Airdrie Columbus Society in the transition period. We have been gathering information on bookings, establishing a janitorial contract, reviewing the IT requirements, preparing for the inventory data, collection for insurance purposes, reviewing the established fees and charges, preparing for a communications plan, and reviewing the rental arrangements and agreements for 2016. The team has assembled a lot of information in a short period of time and is preparing this operational plan. The city will honor all contractual agreements made by the previous operator for 2016. Administration will communicate to all individuals and organizations who have made confirmed bookings for 2016, ensuring that it is business as usual. There will be a city representative at this facility for viewing, booking, setting up of the facility. The city will operate the community halls within established policies and practices, such as the priority booking policy, the fees and charges policy, the facility fee waiver policy, the alcohol management policy, and the safety policy. It is important to note that before any changes are made to the fees and rates structure that is currently in place, changes will be brought before you, City Council, for approval. The existing recreation culture facility rental fees are currently based on prime time, which involves evening and weekend rentals, non-prime time, which is daytime rentals, and rentals for non-for-profit and for businesses. Based on a preliminary review of the financial statements provided by the Columbus Society, it is projected that revenues from the facility rentals may not offset all of the operating costs. A 2016 budget amendment will be required in order to move forward with the city delivering the new service to the community. On January 4th, there will be a city team assembled to complete an inventory of all of the equipment. At that time, city staff will be in a better position to recommend to City Council what equipment could be purchased. Attached to this report is a proposed 2016 budget. The information presented to you means that the city can operate this facility with as little impact as possible to the various user groups. All confirmed rental agreements will be honored by the city. During the first 9 months of operation, administration will gather information and be in a better position to identify implications to city staff and budgets when providing a status quo update to City Council. Therefore, administration is recommending the following: that Council directs staff to proceed with operating the community halls at the Town and Country Centre as a civic facility as outlined, and return in 9 months with an update on operations. And secondly, that Council endorses a 2016 operating budget adjustment to allow for the operating of the community halls, with $54,250 in funding coming from the general operating reserves. Administration is available for any questions that you may have.
Excellent. Thanks, Patty. Great presentation. Councillor Coulson and then Councillor Hunter, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just getting back to the contractual agreements, and you used confirmed rental agreements. So as it sits now, the TNC has not been, or the Knights have not been taking any deposits. So how do you define confirmed rental bookings?
We're, anything that's in writing would be a confirmed rental, and certainly anything that's verbally been confirmed for 2016, we're taking people on their word.
Okay. So they're giving you the books that they're writing, physically writing in their bookings?
Absolutely.
Oh,
so anything that was negotiated prior to us becoming involved, we'll honor that.
And then your alcohol policy. So I know the city's alcohol policy is a little different, with Birchchurch being our only. So will we be able to continue renting it out for weddings and parties and that sort of thing, status quo?
Yes, we will certainly abide by all the provincial rules and regulations that are in effect when renting the facility.
Okay, because my only concern is the difference between renting a facility like Genesis Place and Birchchurch that is versus renting a community hall. They're very different in the way they rent out. So are we prepared to tackle that sort of a business-like model almost?
So in the short term, we'll certainly rules and regulatory compliances that are outlined by the provincial government. And the second part to your question is in short order, meaning in a couple of months.
Rental rates, or they'll be in contact immediately?
So we will be in direct contact with people. So for January, we've actually had, once we're formally approved, we'll continue with that direct contact with anybody that's on the books and has been identified as a rental opportunity for the balance of the year.
Moving forward, who do people need to contact?
So in the communication strategy, people, it'll be identified that they will contact the city and they'll contact directly to Derry Lang, who is with me tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hunter, please.
Through the chair, can you speak to, I'm looking at the budget, is that, what's fiscal year for that? Is it January to December 31?
That is correct.
And so that budget is that time period?
That's correct.
So then I think you're selling yourself a little short if you're going to come back in 9 months. Reason being is one of your busier times is September to December, busy times, Christmas, all those different pieces. My preference would be that you came back in a year, at the end of a full year of operation, to come back with a little better picture of what the feasibility is. So.
Great question. What we're discovering at this point is that people are quite diligent in their bookings, and certainly for those busier periods, they're booked out many, many months in advance.
Yeah, and through the chair, I like that part. I just want, so this is a different model in running it. It's city now instead of volunteers and things like that. So I think it would be, for certainty for the people you're going to put there, a full year. Look at that, see how a full year of the city operating it. You might find that, you know what, we don't want to do this, or you might find, wow, this is great opportunity. I would just rather see a full year than 9 months trying to chop that. Especially, you're coming back with a report right when you get into some of your busier times, and so it would seem to me that, in fairness to you and to the staff, give you the whole year. So that's just my thoughts.
I concur with that. Paul would like to make a comment.
Yeah. Through the chair, I believe the rationale behind the 9 months was to give council an update as to where things are at, how they're going, and that sort of thing, in case there was a view to change, make some changes, and then that we could implement that as part of the budget and business plans going forward. So that was the rationale on the 9 months. But
Right, which is, I mean, I would assume that if something drastic came up in 6 months, they'd come back, or 3 months, or, so that could come back at any time, right? A full year of operation in a fiscal year of business, to me, just makes sense.
through the chair, I think we would.
You know, our rental rates going up. We've got competition coming in with certainly with the new golf course and their new building. It's similar size to ours. So be interested to see how those previous renters are going to be coming back to participate. Councillor Coulson, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just going to say I would agree with Alderman Hunter, and perhaps maybe if the temperature was going this way, quarterly updates. This is something new for this council, so I don't know if that's beyond the scope of our staff or if it would be too much work, but or even, I guess, brief emails. But it would be nice to know what's happening, so it's not falling apart at the end of 9 months and people are angry and.
I think we'll hear that anyway, but I mean, I don't know if it's a big burden to come back in 6 months. Just give us an update on how things are going. You're comfortable, you have enough staff, your rent. Yeah, all of those kinds of things. We can always do that, but I don't think it's part of this motion. I mean, we're really just talking about, adjusting our budget, and I think everybody's in agreement with, it's a very small amount in my mind, and I think at the end of the day, it'll probably be less. But I'm just curious to know how it all works out for us and our administration. So, Paul, you want to make a comment?
Through your worship, we'll undertake to bring you an update in that 6 month to 9 month period.
Yeah, we'll add that to your follow-up. Good luck with that, ladies. That's all I'm telling you. I had one question. Sorry, there was a lady that rents and has rented there for years. They do yoga, I think. Jazzercise, have we connected with her? Everything's been worked out? Because I know the rates were significantly more than what she was paying with the deal she had with the Columbus Society. So has that all been worked out now? And okay, because I haven't heard anything. Can you just quickly, Patty, tell me where that's at?
Everything is working out swimmingly.
Oh, a good metaphor with the new pool opening up there. That's great. What else? Oh, so before we vote, I want to publicly state on behalf of Council, City of Airdrie, thank you to the Columbus Society. They've done a phenomenal job. There's been volunteers that have had to work multiple shifts because, people don't show up or whatever. They always seem to make it work. They've accommodated it. They've donated, I'm going to guess, hundreds of thousands of dollars back into the City of Airdrie over the past 20 years. So I really want to publicly state how important they've been to the success of the TNC and to thank them from the bottom of our hearts for what they've done for our community and our partnership here at the City of Airdrie. From there, I will ask for a motion from Councillor Burley, please.
Thank you, Worship. Then I'll make a motion that we direct staff to proceed with operating the community halls at the TNC as a civic facility is outlined and return in 6 to 9 months with an update on operations.
Excellent. All those in favor? It should be unanimous. It is. Thank you very much, ladies. Sorry, go ahead.
A motion to endorse a 2016 operating budget adjustment to allow for operating the community hall with the funds to be determined through the Council Budget Committee.
Yeah, absolutely. I apologize. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you again. All right, correspondence. We have no items this evening. Board reports, and we'll go left to right tonight. Councillor Chapman, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, if I could make a motion to excuse Alderman Haig this evening.
Do we have to do that for him?
Well, he's in Arizona, so we should.
Yeah, probably. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
And then I guess at this time, I'm going to go first. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank staff. Merry Christmas. All the best New Year. Thank you you guys are here at all these meetings with us, so it's great to see you all here. And to our media, I see Christine is the one who's left. I think she has been to just about every meeting this year, as many as we have. So thank you very much. Merry Christmas. And to our regular members that come from the community, Merry Christmas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Bellick.
Well, I guess I got a ditto from Councilman Chapman.
Councillor Hunter, please.
Well, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Birthday, whatever holiday you're celebrating, have a good one. Don't drink and drive. absolutely mandatory because we're going to have more police on the streets next year. So thanks to my colleagues, and I tried to do some baking and it didn't turn out, so maybe next year. Thanks.
That's not what's under your fingernails, Councillor Hunter. Councillor Burley, please.
I don't know where to go from there, Your Worship. Other than, again, Merry Christmas to everyone, the citizens and the staff. We've got a great staff and it shows, and 2016 is going to be another great year for us. Even with the downturn, we're going to get through this full steam. As Your Worship mentioned earlier, him and I had the pleasure of attending the Lionesses Christmas Hamper Drive on Sunday. It was amazing. They helped 371 families in Airdrie. And the Lionesses themselves did 70 of those baskets. And the reception from the community and the volunteers and the individuals that had to have the help, it was incredible. Volunteering there makes it all worthwhile.
It was awesome.
It was.
Over 1,050 individuals were helped.
And they put in thousands and thousands of hours, the Lionesses and their volunteers.
Amazing.
So a big thank you to them.
It was awesome. Councillor Coulson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to say Merry Christmas to everybody, and I look forward to seeing all of Airdrie. Hopefully we're filling the stands and doing a great thing for our organizations.
And if, Christina, it's $15 a ticket and $5 goes back to the community.
Yep.
And it's celebrating Airdrie, first time the Hitmen have done that. So it's going to be exciting on the 30th. So if you haven't got your tickets, make sure you do.
And I think the library, just so everybody's aware, the library is still has tickets available, as does the Roller Derby Association. And I'm sure there must be other not-for-profits in the community that have them as well.
Awesome. So I just want to congratulate Paul, all the directors and their teams. 2015, we were national recognition for finance, economic development, communications, procurement. I'm sure there's others that I've forgotten, but I think it's been a really awesome year. We showcased our talent, and it continues to show in the community. I really want to thank all of our staff. They do an amazing job. I guess you don't take it for granted. I never do, or I don't think I do, but just really want to reiterate, if you can let your teams know how much council appreciates and understands it's not always an easy task to have the emblem on your jacket. I've said that from the beginning, and people are pretty tough on our staff at times, and just want to let them know that we think they do a phenomenal job, and we really appreciate 2015. And I'm in agreement, and I hope you're right, Alderman or Councillor Burley. I like that Calderman one I had earlier. That was way better. I could actually say that easier, but I hope it's going to be good. We'll have to see how that all turns out, but I really want to wish all of our staff a very, again, safe and healthy and happy 2016. It's going to be great regardless of what happens. So I just wanted to quickly touch, Mark and I and Paul and Tracy went to Surrey. We're going to be doing an up-close and personal review with council at our next Main Street Square meeting. In a word, it was it was an exceptional, enlightening learning experience for all of us. They're obviously quite a bit larger community than we are, but a lot of similarities down the road and some exciting things to bring back. I do want to, the innovation piece, and as it relates to some of the things we're going to be experiencing, I can't wait to share with everybody in greater detail just exactly some of the possibilities that exist for what we're trying to do here in the community. So excited to do that. And again, just want to thank the Lioness for how they pulled that together. Stephen's Backpack, all the churches, the individuals that have been donating to the food bank, to Community Links, and all of these different organizations. I will say their donations are down because of the downturn in the economy, so anything that we can do to support them publicly or with some hours or some dollars is greatly appreciated. Other than that, Paul, we'll turn it over to you for council follow-up, please.
Through your worship, simply tonight, we have a very exciting and busy year planned starting in January. If you have any questions on the list, be happy to answer them. And if not, I guess I'll finish it. Not that I want the last word, but on behalf of staff, wish all of council a very Merry Christmas, and I guess express on behalf of staff our appreciation. You know, public service is not always the easiest, but I don't think people realize the commitment it takes from being a council member and your commitment to the community. And I also like to thank you for the support of staff and the kind words, not just tonight, but throughout the year. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Paul. Meeting is adjourned. Have a great Christmas, everybody. So we do. Lucy's still here, so we're going to reopen Main Street Square.